So yeah, this is our farm. This was an aerial photo taken last year. We've actually changed the layout a bit. This long strip here has actually been taken out of production. We don't actually own that land, it's council tenancy. And we've kind of intensified the production onto this area here. We have that block of beds there. We have another block the same size just in front of it, and then we have another 13 beds on the east of the tunnels there. So yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. So yeah, so our farm, we're 12 acres, we own 5 acres and we've got a 7-acre council tenancy. We're on second tier floodplain, we're on sandy clay loam. So, our soils are pretty good. They're, it's not because we can't plough that we're not doing this, the soils are quite forgiving. But we are currently on 0.65 acres of bed space, and that is, I'm just kind of taking the actual bed space we're working with. We use another 30-odd% pathway space on top of that, and then if you add the headlands, we use some tractors, so we have some fairly big headlands. So the whole garden area is about 2 acres if you take it all into account. And we use standardised beds. Part of the intentions behind going no dig for us was to be able to kind of what I would call intensify appropriately. So we're trying to intensify based on kind of biological processes rather than intensifying based on chemical and mechanical processes. So we use 85 24 metre by 1 metre permanent beds in the outdoor cropping area, and then we have 34 24 by 75 centimetre beds in our polytunnels. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So out of that, this year, these numbers are from last year. So we're reaching about roughly £80,000 of gross sales from that space, of which about £20,000 is wholesale. The rest is retail. We're doing our market is mostly a veg box scheme. So my folks actually started a veg box scheme about 30 years ago, and we're doing between 70 and 120 veg boxes from that area, and we're also doing, on top of that, we're doing a lot of wholesale. In fact, at the moment, this year we've already done £11,000 more sales in wholesale than we'd done to this point last year. So we've actually managed to increase that quite a lot. Whilst decreasing the bed sizes, decreasing the production area by quite a lot. So, we're doing that from May to November, and then we're selling to distributors, we sell to other veg box schemes, we sell to greengrocers, and we sell to restaurants. And from that space, we support 2 full-time staff members. That's me and Jane Arnold, my mother, 1 part-time staff member, and 1 part-time driver is my dad, Julian. And this year we had 2 trainees and occasional volunteers. And what I'm looking to do, I think conventional agriculture, looks at yield per employee. We're looking at employees per yield. We're really trying to, I think one of the limiting factors to most growers I speak to isn't space, it's labour intensity. And we can achieve a lot if we can achieve higher labour intensity. So that's something I'm interested in personally. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is the design for the farm that we're working with at the moment. I approached this, as I said, I've only been working on the farm for the past 3 or 4 years. But I trained as a designer, I trained in illustration, and I kind of came back to the farm with a design perspective. I got excited about systems, system design for farming. So the gardens are really just an element of what I'm interested in a larger farm design. I'm interested in a holistic system. We're doing a lot more agroforestry. We've got our Silvio pasture. We're just doing a lot more habitat creation generally, and that is, that's part of this intensification process for us. We're reducing the size of our cropping area from the whole farm to just an element of it, and then the rest is all going down to productive habitat creation, and that's something I'm really passionate about. So yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. So this is kind of a history of the farm. It was founded in '86 by Jane and Julian, my parents. They'd met at a local horticulture college. They saw this land come up in the local newspaper, after my dad was sick of working for other growers. And they just kind of bought it. And at first they were just selling into wholesale markets, but that was collapsing as they were doing that, really. That was becoming unviable. So Jane had the idea of starting a veg box scheme, which they started in '92. And within about 2 years, they had a waiting list. It took off very quickly, and at its peak, it was doing about 120 boxes. So yeah, they were one of the first veg box schemes in the country. So that farm has a much longer history of what I'm going to be talking about now. But we began to transition to no-dig in 2017, and that wasn't something that only I was interested in. I think my parents had a lot of accumulated experience, and my mum was already quite interested in minimising tillage. She saw that as a compromise to the soil health in the long term. So that was something she was already experimenting with. And then, so last season, 2018, was our first entirely no-dig season. And if you want to go to the next slide. So I could just come up here and talk about mulching. I mean, it's probably what people are expecting, but I just think that is not, it's not presenting the farm as a system. It's important to realise that I'm not trying to tell you this is the best way to grow at all. It's probably not, but it's what we find appropriate to our situation. As I said, the no-dig transition was part of a wider redesign process, and through this redesign process, we've articulated what we're really doing this for. What are we actually trying to achieve here? We're not just trying to grow vegetables. There's something more than that. It means something more to us. It means something more to the land. So part of this is from a business perspective, is talking about how can we run a business responsibly. How can we do that regeneratively? And so what we're aiming to do is a no-growth economic model. So we're really trying to define what we need. How many, what do we want to achieve economically, and then we're not going to try and get there, as kind of painlessly as possible, So we're using no growth economics. We're really interested in minimising waste. So, we're trying to make sure through effective planning and management that we're not just growing crops that are wasting in the field, but our crops, if we're going to put the effort into growing them, if we're going to use the biological capital in the land to grow those crops, that we're going to get them sold and that they're going to get used and eaten. So all forms of capital, time, money, whatever. We're trying to minimise all the waste of any form. We're also really interested in kind of social value of growing. So we're trying to build community health, not just by trying to create healthy people in the community with healthy food. We're also trying to supply some kind of education value to the community as well. And then we're really trying to support and regenerate the ecological processes on the farm. The way I think about it, to use a phrase from Charles Eisenstein, is we're not trying to minimise our own impact. We're trying to have a beautiful impact. So we're trying to support ecological processes through what I identify as three key ecological processes in healthy ecosystems. So if you want to go to the next slide. So first of all, something that we all know, all healthy ecosystems build soil. So that's something that we're trying to do in all our farm enterprises. Next slide, please. We're trying to support biodiversity. This is kind of, as everyone knows, this is resilience in ecology and in agriculture. Next slide, please. We're trying to support ecological succession. So that's not to say that we just want trees. I want a balance of all these plant communities, but we want to really be trying to push it towards more fungally dominated and perennial based plant communities. That's something we're trying to do, and we're actually trying to do that through growing angles. So I'll talk a bit more about that later on. So next slide. So this is